hails the shitty stock market. Democrats point out the struggling workers that are still struggling. Coming from Des Moines, Iowa, on paper, Esther Mabier should be fine. She has a degree from Iowa State University where she majored in economics and lives in a city where her chosen profession, the insurance business, employs thousands of people. But Esther Mabier, 26, can't find a job as an insurance adjuster, and she says her own experience is a lot like the stock market highs and the ever-expanding gross domestic product she keeps hearing about. It all looks good on the surface, but deeper down things aren't so rosy as it appears. There may be people doing well after attending an event for Pete Buttigieg's campaign in Des Moines over the weekend, calling herself living proof that as far as the economy is concerned, it's not that great. The stock market is days away from closing out what is likely to be its best year in 2 decades. The unemployment rate, now at 3.5%, has been at 4% or lower for almost 2 years. Employers continue to add jobs in large numbers, with the country now in its 11th year of economic expansion. As 45 makes his case to Americans that he does not deserve a second term, in part by taking credit for the economy's continued resilience, which started under Obama, the Democrats vying to replace him are making the case that a very different reality exists for many Americans who have not seen much improvement in their bottom lines, like my. In Iowa and other early voting states, the Democratic presidential candidates have been underscoring those disparities with each new economic report, hoping to blunt a centerpiece for 45's re-election message. And as they sought to build momentum on the last weekend before the new year, they mixed empathetic stories about struggling working-class families that pointed attacks on 45, one they accused of pursuing policies that disproportionately helped the wealthy and do nothing to close the young income inequality gap. At an event in Knoxville on Sunday, for instance, Buttigieg, the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, said that top line economic numbers increasingly failed to reflect the experience of many Americans. It's nice to see that the Dow Jones is doing well, he told the crowd who had packed in. But more and more Americans find we're fighting like hell just to hold on to what we've got. During multiple events in Iowa and New Hampshire, former Vice President Joe Biden rejected the idea that the strong economy was lifting everyone. He took aim in particular at one of 45's greatest wells of support, white working-class Americans who were once a bedrock of the Democratic Party, but who are now helping 45 remain competitive in battleground states like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. An awful lot of people, middle-class folks, are in real trouble, and they're not at all certain about their future, Biden said in Fairfield, Iowa on Saturday. So the idea that everybody's doing well is simply not true. The very wealthy are doing very well, but the rest are just barely scraping by. At an event on Sunday in Peterborough, New Hampshire, he acknowledged that the economy was growing and unemployment was incredibly low. He said there is no rational distribution of the growth in terms of increases in income and other things. One consistent theme at campaign events is that wages are not rising enough to offset the increasing cost of living, including for healthcare and education. Another is that with the strong economy, workers should be sharing more of the gains. Are your wages going up? A volunteer for Senator Elizabeth Warren's campaign asked the audience as she introduced a candidate in Clarinda, a small town in southwestern Iowa. When she took the stage herself, Miss Warren of Massachusetts argued that the economic recovery had failed to touch the most marginalized communities or rural areas. Why is America's middle class being hollowed out? She asked, and the answer is who in our government in Washington works for. The economic arguments are restoring in Iowa and elsewhere, with voters like Max Goldman, a 53-year-old technology consultant from the Kansas City area. Max Goldman, who traveled to Elizabeth Warren's event in Clarinda, said he wished Democrats talked more about the federal deficit, but he said he did not credit 45 with the improving economy, and thinks other voters, even moderates, might feel the same way. Every squatter will take credit for the economy, Max Goldman said, but the stock market is not the economy, and the wages argument she is making is a good one. Cal Hunt, a 40-year-old loan officer from Clive, a Des Moines suburb, said at Buttigieg's event on Sunday in Knoxville that the economy where he lives seemed to be working fine because there were job opportunities, but he said he had also noticed recently that more people, especially minorities and women, were borrowing more money, including to pay for rent. I definitely see people that it's not working for, he said. Mike Rowold, 72, a crop insurance adjuster who attended a town hall style event that Joe Biden had held at a high school in Tipton, Iowa, on Saturday said most people there were not concerned about the stock market in any way, shape, or form. The economy is a false bubble, he said. Mr. Woolwood, who said he would support Biden in the caucus, faulted the 45th administration trade policies for hurting farmers in Iowa. Very few of these guys are actually investing any of their money into the stock market. They're hanging on to the farms that they have right now. Maybe you're the out-of-work insurance adjuster said she has not yet decided which, if any, of the Democratic candidates that she would support. Asked whether 45's celebration of the booming stock market and GDP growth meant anything to her, she said most economic indicators had become irrelevant. Iowa, she pointed out, has among the lowest unemployment rates in the nation, 2.6%, and yet somehow she finds herself included in that figure. She says, "Can you believe it?"